I was just telling you off the air, and you were like, "Let's save it on the air and let's start the show with it." Obviously, my job has changed. Both of our jobs have changed a lot in the time we've been doing this podcast. But
Yeah.
I now work in government and stuff like that. And I was in Springfield in the Capitol building until 5 a.m. on Monday morning, June 1st, there as they're debating the Senate floor, listening to all the senators debate this new Bears bill. There was a mega projects bill, and then that got killed. And then late on Sunday, there was a brand new bill that came out of nowhere that in a lot of ways I thought was a pretty solid bill. I think it offered the Bears pretty much what Indiana was going to offer them, where it's like you guaranteed. The Bears' biggest hangup for the stadium thing in Arlington Heights has been, since they bought the land 5 years ago, all they've ever asked the state of Illinois was, don't kill us on property taxes. And if you look at, I think, every other NFL stadium except for one pays property taxes. And it's like a 1% property tax. It's very, very small. If the Bears just started building in Arlington Heights, the way the law works in Illinois, they'd be charged at like 10 or 15%. They'd be paying like hundreds of millions of dollars in property taxes. It would just be insane. And so because the NFL is such big business, all these states, I don't want to get too into the weeds here, but long story short, the Bears wanted property tax certainty like every other NFL team has. And the state of Illinois just never gotten around to giving it to them in the 5 years of this ongoing saga. So long story short, I was there until 5 a.m. hearing the debate. The Senate passes this bill, and everyone thinks, oh my God, it's going to happen. The Bears are going to have the legislation they want to stay in Illinois. Well, at 4:55 a.m., the bill goes over the House, and the House says, it's too late. We're going home. We're leaving. And they gavelled out. So now there is no deal done in the state for the Bears. It is the way it's been the last couple of years. And so the Bears, if they are serious about starting a stadium build, unless session gets called for state lawmakers in Illinois over the summer, which rarely ever happens, a special session, or they have to wait till the fall for a veto session, Hammond, Indiana versus Arlington Heights, it's start building in Arlington Heights and hope that eventually you work out a deal with the property taxes, or you go to Indiana right across the state lines and you get your sweetheart deal that you really want. It was wild to see all the updates. Dan, I cannot tell you how many reporters there were there, the amount of coverage for the Bears.
I can imagine.
It was crazy. And to see it firsthand and to be there, it was driving me crazy. I wanted to grab a microphone and be like, I know I'm not a senator, but I have some things to say.
Well, I know we're going to obviously dedicate another episode to this as, maybe hopefully we'll get some finality to this in the coming weeks.
We'll see.
But I mean, it has felt that way for a couple years at this point. Like, especially over the last, I'd say 8 months, we have felt like, oh, a decision's imminent. Yeah. And then we keep, something keeps, passing the buck. So I am curious though. So because the House chose not to vote on it, it was too late. That means it's tabled until they decide to bring it back. It doesn't come back. Like they don't pick up where they left off when they.
No, so it stands as passed in the Senate. The Senate wouldn't have to pick it up still. The House,
right.
The House could call a special session in the summer and bring all the reps there and work it out. And then the governor could still then sign it, right? Like it would.
But the House isn't convening again until
the government does not convene now again until fall session.
I just didn't even realize that's a thing. Like
I know, isn't that crazy?
They don't meet. I thought they meet way more frequently.
Well, from January 1 until May 31st, they meet all the time, and that's what's driving a lot of Illinoisans crazy, right? Is the governor comes out the governor of Illinois, Governor Pritzker. And again, I don't want to get too into the politics of this, but I will say, if you don't know Illinois politics, there's a supermajority of Democrats in the House and Senate. They completely control the House and Senate, and they're the governor. So for them to all say, well, we didn't have time, they ran out of time, is very laughable for a lot of people in Illinois, because it's like, well, what do you mean? It's not like there was ever debate. Literally, the first time the Senate talked about the Chicago Bears from January 1 until May 31st was May 31st at 4:40 a.m. That was the first time it came up because a bill hadn't been brought to it. The House tried that mega projects bill, but it didn't go anywhere because it was a really terrible bill that didn't guarantee any property tax certainty for the residents around the stadium, and it didn't guarantee any property tax certainty for the Bears. Also, again, not too into the weeds, but Illinois has the highest property taxes in the country. So there's a lot of, it's a bad look right now for a lot of Illinois lawmakers to say we're giving, if you know U.S. politics, for a bunch of Democrats to say we're giving billionaires no property tax while the regular citizen, have the highest property tax. It's a really, so the Democrats are walking a very tight line, right? To like make their party happy, but also keep the Bears. And I will say one other thing that needs to be noted, again, take this what you will, but one of the lead Democratic senators who brought that bill that did pass in the Senate was working with the Bears on that final night. And he did bring up the fact that the Bears haven't been the easiest to work with, because apparently over the last week or two, the Bears did restart conversations with Chicago and Chicago representatives to maybe stay on the lakefront. And what did that mean?
It does seem like the Bears are trying to have their cake and eat it too by playing everybody against everybody.
And then what happened is basically the state of Illinois, a lot of people are saying, just said, all right, fuck it. We're calling your bluff. Move to Indiana. Move to Indiana. Go ahead, move to Indiana. You can call us the bad guys. We didn't get a deal done for you. But technically, you don't have to leave Soldier Field till 2033, right? Like it's not like they're out of, you know what I mean? Like they have plenty of time. So it's really interesting to see where this goes. Again, we'll do a whole longer episode on it. And again, hopefully we'll know what actually happened sometime this summer. Then we can maybe flesh out a little bit more. I'll just say this. I think there's blame all around, but I will also, anytime a lawmaker says we don't have time, when it's like the way it works in Illinois is one party decides everything. So if they wanted to do this, they could have easily gotten it done, because they get whatever they want done, because they don't have to get votes from the other side of the aisle at all to pass anything. You know, in the U.S. Congress and U.S. House, we talk about all the time, like, why aren't they passing this? It's like, well, it's so close, right? It's like 51-49, and you need a majority, and so you got to work together. In Illinois, no, it's a complete super majority all around. So it's like, to say that they didn't have time really rubs people the wrong way. And I think it's to me, it seems pretty obvious the Bears are going to end up in Hammond. And what took Illinois lawmakers, you could argue, 5 years of non-planning, Indiana got done in 2 weeks. It took 2 weeks, and they had bipartisan support. Obviously, Indiana is the opposite politically, and they're the opposite, completely controlled by one. But every single Republican and Democrat in both chambers voted for what they offered the Bears. So it was bipartisan support. I mean,
so you vote Indiana's the winner ultimately in this one. I vote that it's still going to be Arlington Heights. That's my gut from afar, and that's what I'm going to vote for. Well, actually happening. And I will say, I mean, you give Indiana the credit for like whatever they were able to put together. At the same time, no shit. I mean, they're desperate to bring the Bears there. They're basically begging on, and so I like.
But it is the
look
same
at the site. The site alone is
apparently it's the same deal they gave the Colts. So it's not like Indiana has shown what Indiana lawmakers are saying is, look at what the Colts do for Indianapolis. It's incredible what they do. The game day revenue, the stadium is beautiful, all of this positivity downtown. This is a part of Indiana that is in desperate need of help. And we're going to help it by injecting it full of a ginormous economic development. Even though, yes, we're not going to get any property tax out of it, we're going to get so much revenue from the daily activity in an area, part of Indiana that is the worst part of Indiana.
Yeah. Yeah,
It's
I mean,
great. We'll do a whole episode on it. There's a lot more to go into it, but hopefully, who knows? We'll have Bears news eventually, maybe this summer.
For sure. But we do have some big, news that dropped today. A couple huge trades, or yesterday, I should say, but also some news from today as well. And then we're going to talk Aaron Rodgers comparing his career to some of the NFL greats. That's coming up. All right, so the first big trade to drop yesterday was Myles Garrett being traded from the Cleveland Browns to the Los Angeles Rams. The Rams now, I believe it will be 2 first-round selections between 2016 and 2029 now at this point. So it's pretty incredible. But they have given up, or I should say 2028. Sorry. They gave up their first round pick next year. They gave up their second round pick the year after, and the third round pick the year after that. So first, second, third from 27 to 29.
Yep.
They also gave up star young defensive end Jared Verse, obviously not defensive player of the year, but a super talented player. That was the one aspect of this trade that I thought was a little bit odd and a little confusing, because Jared Verse is such a talented young player. He's not Myles Garrett. Obviously, Myles Garrett makes them an immediately better team. And so maybe that's what they just said. Hey, we've got Matthew Stafford for one more year, maybe 2. We are going to max out everything. And so, hey, you can't fault them that much for it. But I do think the Cleveland Browns got a pretty nice return on this. They save money. They get a young up-and-comer on defense that they can build around, and they get some solid draft capital out of it too, albeit that first-round pick might be pick number 30 to 32 next year,
Yeah. Listen, I think I was first shocked. I was like, whoa. Like, I think I forgot when they restructured the contract, because all of that happened a month and a half ago. You know what I mean? With free agency and all of that you kind of forget that you're like, oh yeah, the league really opens up June 1st, right? Like where so many contracts come open and guys get signed. And I think I was more expecting the A.J. Brown thing, which we'll talk about in a second, because that's been such big news with the Rossini and all of that, that type of storyline. So I was initially shocked. And then the more I think about it, the more I think it's a rare win-win. If you're the Browns, I think the thing that sucks for the Browns fans, and I say this for every time there's a Hall of Fame player, whenever they get traded, it just sucks because it's so much nicer when that guy goes into the Hall of Fame and it's just that one jersey, right?
Joe Thomas.
Yeah. And Calvin Johnson, Megatron. Yeah, he retired maybe a year or 2, 3 years early. Barry Sanders, year or 2, 3 years early, but it's that clean. The Bears, Brian Urlacher. Brian probably could have played another 2 or 3 years. Yeah, but it just feels clean, right? And now we get this with Mike Evans going to San Francisco and for Myles Garrett. I think the thing that's hardest, though, for the Browns and Myles Garrett, it also feels a little bit like, Peyton Manning in a lot of ways kind of feels a lot like a Bronco. Like he lives in Denver, I think still. You always see him at Denver things, and it's like he was in the Denver schedule release this year, like the video, where it's like Myles Garrett's probably going to win a Super Bowl with the Rams and only play there for 4 years. But at the end of his career, it's going to feel like he's a Ram because that's where he made his impact. It's a little bit like Stafford.
Like Kevin Green. I mean, Kevin Green, people think of as a Pittsburgh Steeler, and he only played with Pittsburgh for 3 years, I believe, which is crazy to think about, but he made his biggest impact there. When
you make your biggest impact. So there's that whole legacy thing to it, which I just think that hurts. I hurt for the fans in that way. But I will say, listen, if you're with the Browns, if you're going to tell me that I get a first-round pick, I get a second-round pick. Now, I guess they're not high-end first- and second-round picks. You can't predict that. And a third-round pick. So I get a lot of draft capital that's going to keep me very flexible in the draft for the next 3 years, right? Trading first, second, third rounders, having extra first, second, and third rounders to throw around, either to move up for a quarterback or to get another player, that's terrific draft capital for them to play with. And you get a pass rusher who's going into year 3, who you don't have to pay for another 2 years because he was a first-round pick. So you could even pick up the 5th-year option. Like, you can do a lot with that. And you're getting still high-end production for a defense that is still your kind of strong suit in Cleveland. Mason Graham on that defensive line, Jared Verse, like, they're young and fun and talented. A lot of that plays well. Listen, Cleveland has got a lot of young talent. They drafted well the last 2 years. I mean, we think this draft's going to turn out well for them. We don't know. On paper, it looks good. So I don't think Cleveland is a quarterback away tomorrow. But I think in a year from now, if they are in a position to draft the right quarterback, then that could be a really fun team. And with the AFC North in a little bit of I would say less stable environment, because you have coaching change.
You're not wrong.
2 stable franchises. And then you have the Bengals, and they haven't been great the last couple of years. The Browns could be setting themselves up to peak at the right moment, right? If things don't turn out well with this new head coach in Baltimore, if things don't turn out with the new head coach in Pittsburgh, or what they're going to end up doing with the quarterback position, it's at least, to me, I can see the path for Cleveland. It makes a lot of sense. Obviously, for the Rams, we know it makes a ton of sense. Like, you're all in on the Stafford timeline, which is this year and next year. And then who the fuck cares after that? And listen, the Rams, we've been talking about the Rams.
They've been saying that for a decade, right?
I mean, that's what they've been doing. Yes, for a decade, and they still figure it out. So the NFL is forgiving in that way, and the Rams are really good at working that around. So I know it's a cop-out to say a rare win-win, but the only way the Rams regret this is if they, for some reason, and I'll knock on wood for even saying this out loud, Rams fans, if they, for some reason, like, Stafford misses this year, like gets injured, right?
Right.
And then next year, like,
if they don't sniff a Super Bowl, and if how is the quarterback they just and if he doesn't pan out, then they're going to be like, wow, now we have like no draft capital, and now we're kind of in this like no man's land. But hey, you got to take big swings
if you can get titles out of it. I will say it makes it. I read reports that the Rams kind of knew this was possible over a month ago. So I've read reports that the Rams, in drafting Ty Simpson, now that draft pick makes a little bit more sense, right?
Yeah.
Hey, we're going to get the quarterback because we actually know we're about to go get Myles Garrett, or we feel really confident we're going to be able to go make a move for Myles Garrett. And if they felt that way, or have felt that way for the better part of a month, it does make the Simpson draft pick make a little more sense, don't you think?
I would agree with that, yes. I do think that makes more sense. From the Browns' perspective, I'm never going to fault the team for taking as many bites at the apple as they possibly can. But that being said, as good of a overall trade as I think this is for them, and I would make this move again and again and again. Their biggest problem is they've been directionless for so long.
Yeah.
And so doing this is great, but it ultimately doesn't matter if they're not able to stabilize. I don't think they got the right coach. We'll see if that turns out to be the case. But also, we don't know what their situation at quarterback is going to look like in a couple of years. So this trade would have been so much better if they had even a Jaden Daniels or something like that they can rely on moving forward, and it makes sense.
Yeah.
If we're looking at them not finding their quarterback for another 3 years, well, now you're at the point where you're paying Jared versus Myles Garrett money anyway. By the time you get the quarterback in house, perhaps you're onto your another coach at that point, and we'll see what you do with the draft capital. So obviously, there's a lot of questions there. I'm not going to necessarily trust Cleveland to be on the winning side of this, because they're on the losing side of these types of things so often. But in the moment, on paper, yes, it's a good trade, and good on them for figuring that out and getting it done.
The one thing I'll ask you this, we both are shaky on Monken as the coach. Like, I don't know what that's going to look like, but I would argue Cleveland does not have a bottom 5 roster. I mean, the quarterback position beside, it's not a top 10 roster. It's not a top 15, but I would argue it's like you look at that roster, there is some really promising young talent on that roster. And I think that they're a team that this does feel like the problem will be where do they end up in the draft and what does the quarterback class look like? I don't think they're going to end up with a top 5 pick with their own. But if they end up like 6 or 7 and they have the Rams pick, you could maybe then see Cleveland ripe for moving up big time, right? Could they get up, especially if someone, depending on who ends up with the number 1 overall pick, maybe they feel like they already have their quarterback, right? And it's a tough year. Maybe it's the Raiders and they feel like, just like, well, we didn't even start Fernando or whatever it is. But I feel like Cleveland will have the ability to make moves, or Cleveland maybe is going to go the ripe way of like, we're done trying with rookies. Let's go get a veteran who we feel like can just stabilize and win us some games with this good young core that we have.
Yeah, for sure. I think there's a lot of possibilities there. The other trade, the worst kept secret for the last like 3 months, really. We've been forecasting A.J. Brown to the Patriots. It was a matter of when, not if. He does get traded to the New England Patriots in exchange for a 2028 first round pick and a 2027 fifth round pick. So Patriots really don't give up much at all for next year. It's not until 2028 they give up that big first rounder. And obviously this has been speculated for some time. It was a big missing piece for the Patriots this past season. They didn't really have a true go-to wide receiver. They still made the Super Bowl. So obviously this would be a big friend to Drake May. We'll see, because as we know, A.J. Brown hasn't had the best relationships with quarterbacks in the past, but that has largely been a Jalen Hurts thing. So, maybe a change of pace. He seemed to get along well with Mike Vrabel in Tennessee, and Vrabel liked him a lot. So they reunite there in New England.
What was the compensation they gave up? It felt to me like initially when I saw it, like that feels like a lot.
Yeah, it was a 2028 first round pick and a 2027 fifth round pick. So fifth rounder next year, not that much. And it's their better fifth round pick because they have 2. And then a first rounder in 2028. Now that's a high pick, right? That is a high pick, and it's only 2 years removed. So it's a lot for a wide receiver who's on the wrong side of 30, right? So
yeah, you're gonna wonder. I guess if you're New England, you're hoping that pick is still in the 20s, late 20s.
Is A.J. Brown? No way, he's only 28. Is he really?
I think he might be.
Wow. Yeah, he's 28. Honestly, I thought he was. I thought he had turned 30 already.
So
there you go.
I'll say this: I don't love having to give up the first rounder, but I guess giving up the first rounder 2 years from now, you still have next year's
first. Palatable.
Yeah, it's a little more palatable. I will say this: I still just don't. I don't have good vibes for New England. This gives me better vibes for Philadelphia. My concern with Philadelphia still is now you have Devontae Smith. I think they brought in Wicks, and then they got the kid from Arizona State in the first round. Makai Lemon. So it's an interesting receiver core. I don't think of it as an elite receiver core, but remember they have the Eagles' offensive coordinator is a guy who's never called plays before. So,
oh wow! Hey, big news that just dropped right now too.
What?
Falcons signed Drake London to a 4-year, $140 million extension. So he's got 100 guaranteed.
Where does that rank among wide receivers?
Just going into year 3.
I mean, he's good.
The third highest paid receiver.
Yeah, he's good.
Wow,
it's very good. I mean, that's what the market is for really good wide receivers.
Yep.
I'll say this. Listen, we'll see how it shakes out. I think it's one positive year for New England. I think it helps New England a ton this year. I think A.J. Brown is one of those guys in the first year in that system. I also think it'll help with the distractions a little bit more. He's a ride or die Vrabel guy. Vrabel's obviously dealing with not the best situation. I think that helps the locker room for at least a year. I think it helps the locker room in Philadelphia. I still have a lot of concerns about both teams. I I don't think the Eagles are better without A.J. Brown, but I don't think they're dramatically worse. I think my concern with the Eagles is another new offensive coordinator, and it's a guy who's never called plays. And I think my concern with the Patriots is I still don't love everything they have as far as depth and offensive line. I think it's fine. It's not great. And then I worry just with the locker room distractions and the tougher schedule, like what that year could look like for New England. But we'll see.
Well, they didn't really
good trade.
They didn't really dominate people last year, despite the really easy schedule, right? They had a couple like really nice games, but a lot of times they were scraping by and they were gritty and whatnot, which is what you expected from the team. But now going into one of the harder schedules in the league, that is where the big question marks come for New England. And
can I ask you, who do you think is more impactful and means more? Brown to the Patriots, or in that division, DJ Moore to the Bills? I think DJ Moore to the Bills, both of them reuniting with former coaches who they had great years with.
Yeah.
But I think DJ Moore to the Bills, that's an already offense that is really, really powerful and good because they have the MVP. And
right.
That's like the weapon they need for like the over the hump. That to make me felt like an over the hump move. This feels like they needed to do that move, right? You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, I agree. I think DJ Moore has a overall larger impact on the trajectory of the team in general.
I agree.
Whereas AJ Brown, his impact, that's hard to describe, but like his impact on the team in terms of like on paper and what was needed, he fills a need that was so much larger because Josh Allen has been able to be amazing without great talent. So it's almost like a cherry on top for him. But when you think about it, they really haven't, since Diggs and Gabe Davis had that incredible season, he hasn't really had like much to go off of in that department. Drake May obviously didn't have a ton last year to work with and was still
very good,
good and got to the Super Bowl. But they needed one person that could be a go-to guy, and AJ Brown does fit that need. But it's just, how much our team's going to key in on him and how much is that going to make life difficult from a play calling standpoint? I don't know. We'll see. But it's a big year for Drake May to like prove that he could, rise above.
Yeah, he didn't make the Madden cover. You know what I mean? Not everyone can make the Madden cover,
Exactly. The only other bit of news was that the Steelers signed Nick Herbig, the edge rusher, to a 4-year, $100 million deal, a pretty substantial deal, $42 million guaranteed there. Adam Schefter tweeted out that he believes this is the largest contract ever in NFL history for a player that never started a full season, which is true because he's kind of been the bullpen arm type of guy. He spells TJ Watt, and he's had great moments when he's done so, but he's never shown that he can, take the load of an entire year. But now they got Highsmith, Herbig, and Watt for 2026, three making, a considerable amount of money now on that defense. I thought at first, is this somehow signaling something with Watt?
Yeah.
The reports already are out that Watt is here to stay for this year. But I do think that maybe means next year they'll kind of look to get off of Watt's contract. And, this also gives you pause for, is Watt going to be the every down player now? I mean, I think he's at the point of his career where maybe him and Herbig split time.
Yeah.
The
highest paid defense just got more expensive. So,
but hey, to be fair, they've spent a lot of money on offense lately. I mean, They got DK Metcalf, they got Michael Pittman, and they've spent a ton of draft capital on the offensive line.
Yep.
They went and got Rico Dowdle in the running back room. Like they have spent money on offense now. It's just the defense has been, there's still big contracts from a few years ago that they're, still dealing with.
Yeah, I'm very high in Pittsburgh. I right now, if you had to make me put money on, I think I'd pick Pittsburgh to win the division. I think I listen,
Interesting.
if
Yeah.
you
I
don't
don't know.
hate this, if you don't hate this move, I don't hate this move. So I will trust you on that.
I don't. I like Herbig a lot, and I think it kind of sets them up for life after Watt, type of thing. And that's they'll be able to weather this, and figure out a way to make the contracts work in concert. But speaking of Pittsburgh, Aaron Rodgers, you came up with a good idea. Now that he has admitted or at least put it out there that this is his final season, it's his farewell tour, to kind of look back on his career and put him up against the all-time greats. Where does he rank within the top 10? He has a very interesting career. He has only one Super Bowl win. He's largely considered one of the most, if not the most talented thrower of the football to ever exist, and one of the more
Yes.
cerebral quarterbacks ever. So it's an interesting conversation. I know you put together a list here of
So
who to compare him to.
well,
So
if you remember on our last episode 2 weeks ago, I said after Aaron resigned, all I want him to do is come out and say this is my final year. Like, just say it's your final year. And then he did a couple days later.
Yeah, you did. Yeah.
And I felt very vindicated by that. And I applaud him for that, because I think for a guy like him who's so kind of weird and aloof, to have a definite, I think it's going to motivate him completely. I think it's going to motivate the team completely. I think it's
Yeah.
going to also provide clarity if things go really wrong in Pittsburgh, for them to be like, all right, Aaron, let's bench you early here now and move on, right? Or whatever it might be.
Yeah, going off of that, I don't want to interrupt your train of thought
please.
too much, but going off of that, that was one of my initial thoughts, was because, like, at the end of his relationship with Mike McCarthy, a lot of people were pointing to basically he would field in calls from McCarthy and basically give up on them instantly. He would throw the ball away all the time those final two
It was
seasons,
ugly.
right? Because he didn't like the play call or whatever. When I heard the news that he was like to me, I don't see that happening then in his final season, because he chose to come back knowing Mike McCarthy's here, and now he's saying it's his final year. I don't see Aaron Rodgers acting out in that way in his final season, because then what would have been the point, right?
I agree.
I
think more like it goes wrong, like they're somehow they
it's just
end up
not working. Like
injuries
he's
or
getting beat to
something.
shit or something.
They end up, they're at like 2-6 or something like that, and then they're just kind of like, listen, Aaron.
Yeah, you can't move or something.
Yeah, or let's be graceful here and let's move on. So what I wanted to do is a joint top 10. You and I figuring out the ceiling and the floor for Aaron Rodgers, knowing he has 1 year left. Unless he goes on a Super Bowl run, we pretty much can predict what his career will be. I think we'll be graceful and say he has another 10-7 year, does well, 25 touchdowns, 10 interceptions, 3,400 yards, right? It plays well. But we'll be, obviously if he were to go on and win a Super Bowl, we'd have to redo this list, I think, in a year from now. But that being said, let's try to figure out where we think Aaron Rodgers is in our 10 of all time. So let's go 1, 2, 3 really quickly, because I think we talked about it beforehand. He's not in our top 3, either of our top 3, right?
That's correct.
So we both have Brady at 1, right? We'll go Brady.
Yeah. Yep.
I would go Manning 2. I know you don't feel that way. Where is your 2 argument?
Yeah, it's really tough for me. I mean, honestly, now that I'm thinking about it, I may actually put Montana out of the top 3. I think I may go Tom Brady, Peyton, and Marino as my top 3.
So so let's go Peyton 2.
Yep.
Let's go at 3.
I'll give you Montana just because he's got the 4 Super Bowls and Marino doesn't have one. So
I think that's pretty much the consensus. And it's funny because I asked Grok, the AI, I said, give me your top 10. And it went Brady, Montana, and Manning. Okay. So I think that it's for this discussion, he's not in the top 3. He's not.
Right.
I think there's other people you could make the argument for. So I think that's where this is fun, right? It starts at 4. So off the bat, Aaron Rodgers at 4. What do we think? What names do we think? You're high on Marino.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're absolutely in that territory right now. I mean, you can't.
I'm very high on Marino at 4 as well. I would argue, do you want to hear some of the other names I have? And I have all their stats.
Yeah.
So let's talk through. I think other options at number 4, you can at least have the discussion about. So we have Rodgers and Marino. Those are established. Elway, Breeze, Favre, Stafford, Big Ben, Mahomes, and Unitas. Those are my names. To me, those are the conversation at 4 begins. Now, I think in 5 years from now, it'd be crazy for us to not say Mahomes in that spot, depending on how the next couple years go. Right. I'm okay if we want to maybe wait to put Mahomes somewhere in our top 10 for now. I would argue, to me, though, if it was just me making this list, it would probably, the discussion is between Mahomes, Marino, and Elway, probably.
Okay.
Maybe
I like Elway a lot. He's had incredible moments. I struggle. I would take Aaron Rodgers over John Elway.
Okay. I like that. That's what this debate is about, for sure.
Yeah.
Well, do you want to, I think we both feel strongly about Marino. You want to go Marino?
I think we go Marino at 4.
Now,
but if we do that, personally, I still think we have to put Mahomes ahead of Rodgers.
I would agree. Honestly. I would agree. So Marino, here's the thing with Marino. Let's compare Marino and Rodgers, all right?
Yeah.
Marino is 10th all-time in passing yards, 61,361. But again, when he retired, he was the GOAT. He was the passing yard GOAT. Rodgers, 5th all-time. He's got 5,000 yards more than Marino. By the end of this year, Rodgers won't move up into 4th all-time, I don't think, but he probably will end up 3rd all-time in passing touchdowns. He is only behind. He's 4th right now, Rodgers, 527. He is 12 behind Manning. So as soon as he hits 13 touchdown passes, he'll be 3rd all-time, which is very impressive. Rodgers has a 102.2 passer rating. That is tied for number 1 of all time with Lamar Jackson. He's 20th all-time in completion percentage, 65.1%. So Marino's numbers, 8th all-time with 420 touchdowns. Again, though, when he retired, top of the mountain. Where Marino's numbers really struggle versus Rodgers, but again, I would argue it's the era. 51st in passer rating and 86.4, 82nd in completion percentage. He has a 59.4% completion percentage. That's worse than Mitch Trubisky. So that just gives you, I think that's an era's conversation, right? And then the interceptions, it's not really close. 252 for Marino. Rodgers' interceptions are wild. 123. It's so low.
Yeah.
When you look at interceptions, I will say, obviously, Favre is king, but Marino and Manning, as far as the modern guys go, should also be criticized for the interceptions. It's extremely high. When you look at the list of modern guys, not a lot of modern guys high up there. They've cut out interceptions a lot. So Marino's in the Hall of Fame. He's a 9-time Pro Bowler. 10-time Pro Bowler for Aaron. He will be in the Hall of Fame. This is where Aaron and Marino are very similar. 4-time All-Pro for Aaron, 3-time All-Pro for Marino. Aaron has 4 MVPs. How many MVPs does Marino have?
Does he have 3
he
or
has
2?
1.
Oh, okay. He's got 1.
That's interesting. Now, again, that conversation is also a little different. Back in Marino's time in the 80s and 90s, running backs, wide receivers, other people won MVP more easily. The writers.
Yeah, I mean, my big thing with Marino is just that he played for the Miami Dolphins. Like, I mean, what are you going to do sometimes? I mean, Dan Fouts' career is probably a lot different if he plays for a different team. So
I would also argue that's a huge part of it too. I think I'm comfortable going Marino ahead of Rodgers. I know Marino's stats aren't as great. I know the MVPs are a conversation. I didn't watch Marino's career, but I watched you see the highlights. I'll just say this. Rodgers does have a Super Bowl, but I would argue that they both are the kings of underachieving for their talent.
Yeah.
And I would argue that why I would put Mahomes eventually at 4 very easily ahead of Marino is because I think right now, when you make the argument of who's the most talented quarterbacks ever, I think the easy top 3 is Marino, Mahomes, and Rodgers. And yet Mahomes has done the most, right? He's accomplished the most winning as the talented QB. Would you agree with that?
Yes. Yeah, I
Okay.
would.
So you and I are both going to go Mahomes at 5.
Mahomes at 5.
Now the conversation to me gets interesting because you start to look at Rodgers, Elway, Breeze.
Yeah.
Favre.
This is where I think Rodgers is. I have Rodgers, I would think, here at 6.
So if I had a strong pushback against that, I'm going to offer you Johnny Unitas as the strong pushback against that.
Yeah.
And I know the era is tough, but Dan, Johnny Unitas threw for 40,000 yards and 290 touchdowns while winning 5-time All-Pro.
Yeah.
3 NFL championships, 1 Super Bowl. So 4-time champion, 3-time MVP, all in the 1960s. And if you look at Johnny Unitas' numbers, he has more TD passes than Montana, Fouts, Steve Young, Tony Romo, Troy Aikman, and Kurt Warner.
Yeah.
He did it 30 years before those guys in some cases, and more touchdown passes, more yards than Dak Prescott, McNabb, Romo, Sims, Kelly, Young, Aikman. He's only 300 less passing yards than Montana. So to me, Johnny Unitas is a 5-time All-Pro. It was the first ever modern quarterback. He also won at the highest level over and over and over again. I know it's hard, and I know you would argue that if you took Johnny Unitas right now, put him on the field, he wouldn't be able to play. But I do think history matters,
unfair, right?
Right? I do think history matters.
Yeah.
So that would be my pushback against.
I'm fine with putting him there because, like, Unitas is absolutely in my top 10, and he's higher up than, the bottom of 10 for sure.
Yes.
So
Unitas
I'm fine with putting him there. The talent gap is so wide that's the hard one to stomach. But he's incredible. Yeah, obviously his career speaks for itself, but he's the original GOAT, when it comes to quarterback play.
So this is where it gets, I think, now really fun. Like, because now it's like, okay, you have Rodgers still on the board.
Yeah.
Who else do we still have on the board? We have Breeze on the board. Favre is on the board. Big Ben, Stafford, Elway.
Yeah.
You're gonna. What is your gut say when I give you Breeze, Rodgers, Big Ben, Favre, Stafford, Elway?
Rodgers. I mean, I was close to putting him here at 6. Rodgers is better than Ben for sure. I think he's absolutely better than Stafford from a talent perspective.
Stafford I think Stafford's the one where it's like we're doing him a disservice that in 3-4 years from now we have this conversation again. I think we might say Stafford because
it's possible.
If he ends his career with another MVP, another Super Bowl MVP, that's going to be really hard for me to say he's not better than Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard.
The thing that kills me with Aaron, I'll just say
this. He never won anything before going to the Rams. And so there is.
But I would argue
that's going to be a stain on his career. Like, we always thought he was a great quarterback with the Lions, and he was. He's clearly proven that. But that is going to be because he was a talented quarterback with the Lions, but he wasn't the talent level of Marino ever. And I still don't think that he quite is.
Okay, so I would argue the Rams are a great benefit for Stafford, but Aaron Rodgers had the Green Bay Packers. And what did he win?
Right. No, this is true, but Rodgers never had, what did he have? One top 15 defense ever in his career with the Green Bay Packers. He never had a great running game, really. Amon Green for a couple years was pretty solid, but he never had that great of a running game.
Aaron Jones was good for a couple years.
Yeah. But it was never. So you could say his supporting cast was really the argument is, okay, he had some great players in Jordy Nelson and Greg Jennings and Donald Driver. We never had a Hall of Fame, talent outside of Devontae Adams early in his career.
So Elway's got 2 Super Bowls to Rodgers 1.
Yeah.
Favre has 2 Super Bowl appearances, 1 Super Bowl win. Rodgers just has 1 appearance, 1 win.
I think Rodgers and Favre are so similar in terms of, some of those accolades.
Yeah.
But it's clear when you put the two together. I personally would take Rodgers on the field over Favre any day of the week, because Favre's mistake-prone approach is light years, different and more catastrophic than Rodgers.
But I would argue that Favre was a better leader. Like Favre was
Gamer.
the guys in the locker room would die for that guy.
Yeah.
I mean, that to me, so here's
true.
my biggest, and then you're forgetting about Breeze, who Breeze is second all-time in yards, second all-time in touchdowns.
But see, to me, Breeze is, and this is going to sound like I'm sliding Breeze, because I do think he belongs in the top 10, but like Breeze to me is one of those, the stat padding aspect of his career is what's catapulted him into the position he's in. He
does have 1 Super Bowl win.
He had Sean Payton. Yeah. He has 1 Super Bowl win, just like Rodgers. It's undeniable to anybody that who's a better thrower of the football. It's Rodgers by a mile. Breeze has the stats. He played in the dome his whole career, and he played in the most friendly quarterback system that you could think of. Rodgers played in the NFC North against some dog defenses in terrible weather, without having a great defense to back him up for the vast majority of his career. And he still did this all while not, doing many mistakes at all, and winning a Super Bowl.
Now, Breeze has won more games than Rodgers. Now, Rodgers obviously has this season to catch Breeze. He's 9 wins away from catching Breeze. And I will say the thing that hurts Breeze is, you're right, is that the yards, the touchdowns, but then look at the accomplishments. 1-time All-Pro. Like, yes, he was a 13-time Pro Bowler, but the 1-time All-Pro, when you look at Rodgers' 4-time All-Pro, it just goes to show you everyone knew during their playing careers that guy was not as talented as the other guy.
Right.
And that's the thing that kills Big Ben too, because I'll be honest, I love Big Ben, and I think Big Ben is a guy that I think people sleep on as far as like who's one of the most talented quarterbacks ever. I mean, the dude is a guy. It's all God given. He's a ginormous human being, but could move, could throw the ball a mile, but was also really accurate in the short game. He played outside. He played in the north. But the problem with Big Ben is his numbers are there, right? He's basically 2,000 yards less than Rodgers. He still has 400, top 10 in touchdowns, top 10 in yards. Pretty damn good with completion percentage, passer rating, interceptions, not crazy.
Yeah.
But
won 2 Super Bowls.
He's got the 2 Super Bowl wins, but he's got no All-Pros. No,
you got to
MVPs.
remember the conference, right? Too, and that is a point. It's like you didn't win an All-Pro, and like you didn't.
No one ever thought Big Ben was better than Manning or Brady in that conference.
And he probably wasn't. I mean, we're talking about
third.
the guys who are in the top 3 of our list that he had to go up against. Rodgers had the benefit of being in the NFC in that regard.
Yes,
and how many would have Rodgers gotten if he was in the AFC and had to go up against Tom Brady and
I would argue that's one of the things that, to me, that's why I don't count that necessarily that hard against Big Ben. If you're telling me right now, like Big Ben was a gamer, like Big Ben, I know, like
best extender of the play probably of all time.
Yeah, I mean, Aaron Rodgers is the master of the free play, but Big Ben is the master of extending the play just with his size and his capability. So to me, it's a really tough. Like I think you can easily make the argument for any one of these guys at 6. I mean, at 7, where we're at now. I agree that it's not Breeze. Let's eliminate Breeze from 7.
Yeah.
I think we can eliminate Big Ben. I think that sucks, but I think we can eliminate Big Ben.
That would have been nice too, because that was his number. But yeah,
that's true. Yeah.
So
I think we'll eliminate Stafford because we're both waiting on Stafford. It's not. I think right now Aaron's better, but I think there's a real case, depending on how the next 3 years go, that Stafford and if Stafford wins another Super Bowl, another Super Bowl MVP, maybe even another regular season MVP, I would argue that the way Stafford ended his career versus the way Aaron ended his career, like it just goes to show you, like, the quality of the human being and the leader of the football player. I think it speaks to something.
That's what, like, to me, Stafford and Favre are a lot more similar than anyone else on the list that we talked about. And I would probably take Stafford in his prime over Favre in his prime, which is saying a lot.
It is. You certainly can make the argument. So right now it's between Rodgers, Favre, and Elway for that 7 spot. You want to eliminate Favre.
I've always thought Rodgers was better than Favre overall, and so I've always put him ahead of Favre in,
I like Favre more,
because the accolades are so similar between the two.
Yeah, they're spot on.
The numbers in terms of the positive numbers, the passing yards, the touchdowns.
The interceptions is the thing.
But it's the interceptions, and then you go to the talent, and Favre is a better extender and a better out of structure
for sure
player, but
had a way better end of his career,
way better arm, like way more accurate, and I would argue,
he just
like Favre's arm talent was in the power, but Rodgers could throw it just as far as Favre. He was just more accurate.
Yeah, and I think it's pretty obvious that Rodgers is a smarter player than Favre.
Yeah,
but I also think I think there's
your leadership point is
the leadership locker room thing is crucial.
And Elway has both of them beat, I would say, in that regard.
Which is why, like, to me,
the prototypical.
I think leader. Elway, again, he was like Rodgers at the beginning of his career. When Elway came out, it was like this whole, like, holy shit, who's this kid? This guy was like revolutionizing how you play this position. Him and Marino, I mean, he was never as good as Marino, you thought, but he won just as much. And then at the end of his career, when Marino couldn't ever get back, Elway, he got back and then won 2 in a row and beat Favre in one of them. This one's for John. I would put Elway ahead of Rodgers. To me, I think the multiple Super Bowl wins. Again, Elway, the 1 Super Bowl MVP, the 1 MVP, that's tough when you look at the MVPs for Rodgers. The numbers, I don't give too much of the numbers. Elway, for his time, his numbers were elite. For his time, they're elite numbers.
He did throw a lot of picks, though.
He did throw a lot of picks. I think Elway was a smarter player than Favre. I think he was a little less reckless than Favre. I would probably
more
go
talented.
I would argue Elway at 7, but if you're set on Rodgers over Elway, I might give it to you.
I mean, you could absolutely make the argument, but I think. I mean, the only thing to me that would put Elway then ahead of him is the rings. Like, is the fact that he got the rings, and that's.
And he was such
that's it, because Rodgers, I think Rodgers just
a better.
To me, Rodgers is like the top 3 in terms of talent at the quarterback position.
Mahomes and Marino.
Yeah, it's him, Mahomes and Marino.
And I think that Josh Allen is knocking on that door for sure.
For sure.
And then Caleb Williams.
So who are we? I mean, I guess we can say let's put Rodgers at 7, but then I really do think his floor here is 8, because.
So you would say
because I put him ahead of Stafford
and Favre and Breeze.
I think if Rodgers was on the Rams with Sean McVay, probably would have won like 3 straight Super Bowls. Like.
Well, I mean,
you never know. Obviously, crazy stuff happens in this league. Mahomes,
it is crazy, but to say it's just hard. I mean, like, when he got Matt LaFleur, when he had those 2 down years with McCarthy and got McCarthy out of there, Rodgers went on a run of 1 seed, 2 seed, I think 3 seed NFC title games.
Was it 4 NFC title games in a row?
I think 2 MVPs but was so bad in all those games. He was
Yeah.
so bad.
Yeah.
And I mean, I struggle so much with Rodgers as the leader, as the person.
For sure.
That's what
I hear you
kills
on
me.
that.
That's what
Totally.
kills me. Every other guy in this list, I have no character issue at all. I think the only other person you could argue is like some character issue is a little bit Marino.
Yeah.
But
Marino had that.
Marino,
I mean,
what he
Roth,
did.
Big Ben too. I mean, you could
Well,
argue
yeah,
Big
yeah, yeah.
Ben
But a
was
guy
there
like the
too.
locker room, the guys like Big Ben. Like there was never, and what Big Ben had to deal with Antonio Brown and Le'Veon Bell, like he was the least of the problems.
That's fair.
When you look at all of that.
Yeah.
We can put Rodgers ahead of Elway, but I agree with you. I think his ceiling, I think the Rodgers ceiling is like 6 or 7,
Yeah,
and
but
I also think
6 and floor is 8.
The floor is 8 or 9. Yeah, at this point,
Yeah.
I would say probably 8.
So he'll stay in the top 10 regardless. I mean, one of the polarizing guys that I think I've always had in my top 10, probably at number 10, is Fran Tarkenton, because when he did retire, he had all of the records, but he didn't have the titles, and he threw a lot of picks too.
Yeah.
So
Fran is one of those guys where, again, if you take a little more history into it, you have to really you do have to try to find a spot in the top 10 for him.
Yeah.
Eventually, this list is going to be so difficult because
Allen.
I do think we have guys like Allen and Lamar, depending on how the next couple of years go, they're going to have the numbers because the way the modern position is. If they get rings, or even a ring, it makes this. It's going to make this really, 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 really interesting.
Yeah, it is.
Because at some point you have to say, listen, I give guys like Fran Tarkenton their flowers, but the reason I put I feel comfortable with Unitas is because of Unitas's victories and his, you know what I mean?
For sure.
And the hardware. It's like he had numbers.
He was revolutionary.
Yeah, he had the numbers and the hardware.
Yeah.
So that's why I wanted to do this, because I do think
it was a good discussion.
So I think we would agree that Rodgers is somewhere in that 6 to 8 range. Yeah. If you have him in the top 5, I think you're glazing him a bit, and you're just relying too much just on the talent and not considering the other things. I think if you have him lower than 8, then you're hating on him too much as the person and the lack of accomplishments as far as team accomplishments. Yeah. Because his individual accomplishments, his individual accomplishments are incredible. I'm probably the biggest Rodgers hater, and I think I would go Elway, Rodgers, Favre, Breeze. Ben. Yeah. I think I'd go Breeze then. Ben. Ben is
I was gonna say, like, where do you put, like, because Breeze's accolades are so
Breeze is 10
good, but
me.
Like Ben, like if you had to choose who's going to be your quarterback for a season, like, would you take Ben or would you take Breeze? Like,
I think if you told me right now, I'm starting a franchise with one of those guys, and I know the potential they could reach if I put the right coach around them, the right weapons, I would take Big Ben.
Yeah.
I would take Big Ben.
That's why Breeze is such a weird one, because his stats are so good you can't ignore them. You can't just say, like,
which is why I think Breeze belongs to the top 10. I have him 10.
Yeah.
But I would probably go, I'd probably go Elway 7, Rodgers 8, Favre 9, Breeze 10. My problem is going to be Stafford. Stafford's really my problem, because I'm going to be the biggest Stafford over Rodgers guy if Stafford wins another Super Bowl and another MVP. And then it's like, but wait, do I like Stafford more than Breeze? Do I like him more than, those guys? It's interesting. And I do think Mahomes is a guy I thought was, like, no doubt is going to be 1 or 2. Now I do think Mahomes is stalled. I think it's a stall of, like, all right, we'll put you at 5. Yep. You've accomplished enough already to be 5, and your talent is insane. But I do think the next chapter of Mahomes' career is going to be crucial. I would like to see Mahomes get back to like those 40+ touchdown years.
Right. Yeah. He needs to
Win.
put up some numbers.
Listen, Mahomes already has 2 All-Pros, 3 Super Bowls, 3 Super Bowl MVPs. That's the clutch for Mahomes,
Big one,
too.
too. Yeah.
He's 3 for 3 like Jordan as far as like when he wins, he's an MVP. And he's lost 2. So he's been to 5 Super Bowls. I mean, Manning only got to 3. That's insane that he's been to 5 already. Mahomes, the 2-time MVP, I think if he can get 1 or 2 more of those, that's going to really help him as well. Really, really help his case as well. It was fun. Yeah, if Rodgers wins the Super Bowl this year and walks off into the sunset with the Steelers, I think he's probably got to jump Elway.
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah,
probably does. Fun. Also, I will say, Grok really loved Steve Young. He had Steve Young at number 9.
Interesting. Wow.
I call Grok a he, which is just it had. I will say 3-time
great, but
3-time All-Pro, 2-time MVP. He won 3 Super Bowls. Technically, won 1 as a starter.
Yeah.
And was the first ever modern, highly accomplished dual threat guy. Because the old guys were dual threat. The old guys all ran. But the modern dual threat accomplished QB. It's not terrible. 3-time All-Pro for Steve Young. I mean, in that era, with Marino, with Elway, with Favre, with the end of Montana. I mean, that's nothing to scoff about.
There were dudes.
He's got a very good career, but I think when you start to where Steve Young, it sucks for him is
Aikman too.
Yeah, where it sucks for Steve Young is the fact that he won 1. If Allen gets 1, if like Jackson gets 1, you can easily be like, oh yeah, well they're way better than Steve Young.
Right. Yeah, exactly. yeah.
All right, fun. I'm definitely off next week. If you want to record, go for it.
No, I think I'm going to take the week off as well.
Right.
But we'll be back on the airwaves in a couple weeks talking more football.
We got a lot to discuss. I've already watched Caleb Williams throw a 60-yard bomb in training camp that was sick.
Go. Nice.
We got Caleb Williams on the Madden cover. We got a lot to discuss here.
For sure. Yeah, I'm excited to dive in. We'll be talking about training camp before we know it and all that good stuff. So, all right. Well, yeah, that'll do it for us here on the Football Lounge, and we'll see you back here in a couple weeks.